you're tuning into something different, something deeper. Welcome to a space where the unseen becomes seen, where the patterns beneath reality are decoded. This isn't just a podcast, it's a journey into the mechanics of belief, perception, and the multidimensional truths shaping our world. If you've ever felt like an outsider looking in, questioning the systems you're told to follow, you're in the right place. This is The Outcast, the Pattern Podcast. Let's dive in.
You know, when you think about Easter, what pops in your head? Probably chocolate eggs.
Oh, yeah, definitely chocolate. And bunnies.
Fluffy bunnies, maybe a sunrise service if you're an early bird.
For sure. All the familiar stuff.
But have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, beneath all that pastel wrapping, there's a story that's, well, way older?
Oh, absolutely. Much, much older.
We're actually going to take a little trip back today. Way back. Before Christianity, even before the Roman Empire was really dominant.
Right. We're peeling back the layers, going deep into the ancient world.
To explore where some of these Easter traditions might actually come from.
And it gets pretty fascinating when you do. We're talking about traditions with roots stretching thousands of years.
And central to this, apparently, is a figure maybe not everyone knows. Ishtar.
Ishtar, yes. An ancient Mesopotamian goddess. I mean, a real powerhouse figure from way back.
Goddess of?
Well, quite a mix. Life, death, fertility, love, sex, but also war, political power too.
Okay, so not just sweetness and light.
Definitely not. She embodies these big fundamental cycles, and she's sort of key to understanding these older layers.
And you mentioned someone else too, Mithras.
Yeah, Mithras. He comes in a bit later in the Roman context. Another piece of the puzzle, really, associated with hidden knowledge, rebirth, adds another fascinating dimension.
Intriguing. Okay, let's start with Ishtar then. You said she was a major player.
Oh, huge. One of the oldest, most significant deities in ancient Mesopotamia. The Sumerians called her Inanna.
Inanna, Ishtar. Same figure, different cultures.
Basically, yes. Akkadians, Babylonians. She was central across these successive civilizations. We're talking the cradle of these goddess beliefs here.
And her domain was, well, pretty broad, you said, love and war.
Exactly. Love, beauty, sex, yes.
Yeah.
But also fierce warfare, political strategy. She wasn't, a gentle, passive figure.
More like a force of nature.
That's a great way to put it. She embodied the cycles, blooming, withering, life, death, that whole process.
And there's a specific myth that really illustrates this. Her descent into the underworld.
Yes, the descent of Ishtar. It's quite a story.
Tell us about it. Sounds dramatic.
It really is. So the story goes, Ishtar decides to go down into the underworld, the realm ruled by her sister, Ereshkigal. A bit of a challenge, you could say.
Sibling rivalry on a cosmic scale?
Something like that. But to get there, she has to pass through 7 gates.
Okay.
And at each gate, the gatekeeper makes her remove an item of clothing or jewelry, a crown, earrings, robes.
Why?
Well, each item represents a piece of her divine power, her status. So as she goes deeper into the land of the dead...
She's losing her power, becoming vulnerable.
Precisely. Stripped bare, piece by piece. By the time she reaches her sister, she's completely naked, powerless.
And then what happens?
Her sister, Ereshkigal, fixes her with the eye of death. Ishtar dies. She's turned into a corpse, hung on a hook.
Wow. That's bleak. So a major goddess just killed.
Seems that way. Utterly defeated, stuck in the underworld.
But I have a feeling that's not the end of the story.
You'd be right, it's not. The narrative tension builds because, well, things start going wrong up on Earth without her influence.
Life needs her.
Exactly. So, after 3 days and 3 nights...
3 days.
After 3 days and nights, through some intervention by other gods, she is revived, sprinkled with the water of life.
And she returns.
She returns. Rises up from the underworld, often depicted as returning with even greater power or understanding.
Okay, the parallels there are pretty striking, aren't they?
Hard to miss. The death, the 3 days in darkness, the resurrection.
A powerful figure descending, overcoming death, returning triumphant.
Yes. And the crucial point here is the timing. This myth, this story of a goddess descending and rising, it's ancient. It predates Christianity by, well, millennia.
So this theme wasn't new. It was already part of the cultural landscape.
Deeply embedded. People were familiar with this powerful narrative archetype long before the Easter story we know took shape. It resonated.
Right, so we have this Ishtar myth. How do we get from her in ancient Mesopotamia to, Easter eggs in my garden? Is there a direct line?
Well, it's not perfectly straight, more like threads weaving through time and cultures. But
Right.
yes, there are strong connections, linguistically even.
The names. Easter and Ishtar.
Some scholars argue there's a link, possibly through related names or concepts evolving over time as these spring festivals traveled.
Festivals celebrating fertility and rebirth.
Exactly, from Sumer to Babylon, Assyria. These ideas moved, changed, adapted.
And different cultures put their own spin on it.
Precisely. Which brings us to the Germanic traditions, the pagan beliefs before Christianity spread there.
Okay.
There we find a figure named Eostre.
Eostre. That sounds much closer to Easter.
It does, doesn't it? Eostre was the goddess associated with spring, dawn, renewal, the earth waking up.
So kind of a later version or regional version of that same core idea represented by Ishtar.
That's how many see it, yes. A continuation or evolution of that powerful female figure tied to spring's return.
It makes intuitive sense.
Ah.
Spring feels like a resurrection, doesn't it, after winter?
Absolutely. The whole season is symbolic of that, the earth coming back to life. It's a really potent metaphor.
And the symbols we use, the eggs, the bunnies, where do they fit?
Directly into this tradition. Eggs are almost universal symbols of new life, potential, birth,
Makes sense.
sealed potential.
And rabbits. Well, they're famously prolific breeders, aren't they?
Can't argue with that. Ancient symbols of fertility.
Exactly. So these weren't just random cute things adopted later. They have deep roots in these ancient fertility and spring goddess traditions.
It wasn't arbitrary.
Not at all. And even the timing of Easter gives us a clue.
Oh, so.
The fact that it's tied to the moon, the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox.
Ah, okay. Not a fixed date.
Right. That points directly back to its pagan astronomical origins. It's linked to the cycles of nature, the moon, the sun, ancient ways of marking time and renewal. So, understanding Ishtar and Eostre. It really reframes those familiar Easter traditions. They're echoes of something much older.
Very much so. Echoes of celebrating life's return, tied to these powerful female figures.
Now, you also brought up Mithras earlier. Where does he fit into this picture? He was Roman, you said.
Yes, the cult of Mithras became quite popular across the Roman Empire, especially, interestingly, among soldiers.
And it was a mystery religion. What does that mean exactly?
It means its core teachings, its rituals were kept secret. You couldn't just read about it. You had to be initiated, step by step.
Like secret knowledge.
Kind of, yeah. Revealed gradually to those who went through the initiation process. Exclusive knowledge you had to participate in to access.
And what was his connection to this whole death and rebirth theme we've been tracing?
Central to Mithraism is the image of Mithras slaying a sacred bull. This act, called the tauroctony, wasn't just violence. It was seen as a cosmic sacrifice that created life.
Slaying the bull brings life.
Yes. From the bull's blood and body, grains, plants, all life was believed to spring forth. So, death leading directly to creation and life.
And for the followers, the initiates, did they experience this somehow?
Through rituals, yes. We don't know all the details because, well, they were secret. But evidence suggests symbolic rituals involving a kind of death and rebirth.
Like acting it out.
Possibly. Mimicking the soul's journey, maybe from darkness to light or from a lower state to enlightenment, a spiritual transformation.
A personal experience of that cycle.
That seems to have been the goal, yes. There were different levels or grades of initiation, ceremonial meals, all aimed at this inner transformation.
Is there specific imagery associated with Mithras that links to resurrection?
Definitely. A very common depiction shows Mithras being born from a rock, emerging from stone.
Born from a rock.
Yeah. It's a powerful symbol of emerging from the inanimate, from darkness or confinement, essentially, birth from a death-like state. It resonates strongly with resurrection themes.
Descent and return, Eostre and spring renewal, Mithras born from a rock, and the bull sacrifice. It seems this idea was everywhere.
It really was a prevalent theme in the ancient world, expressed in different ways through different figures and myths.
And then Christianity starts to spread through this same Roman world.
Right. And as it spreads, it encounters this existing landscape of beliefs, symbols, and practices.
So it wasn't entering a vacuum.
Not at all. And historians see a process of, well, absorption and adaptation. Christianity introduced its unique message, but it also inevitably interacted with the culture around it.
Meaning some existing ideas or symbols got incorporated.
It seems likely. Think about some core concepts. Death and resurrection after 3 days.
Which we saw with Ishtar.
Right. The promise of eternal life, sacred meals involving bread and wine, baptism or initiation rites, communal worship.
These things existed in other forms already, in Mithraism perhaps.
Yes, elements like sacred meals, initiations, promises of salvation, these were part of the spiritual vocabulary of the time, present in mystery religions like Mithraism and others.
So these powerful ideas weren't necessarily brand new inventions.
They were powerful, resonant themes already circulating, living motifs, you could say, part of the collective spiritual understanding of that era. Christianity gave them its own unique context and meaning, of course.
It really makes you look at things differently. Like even today, painting Easter eggs or kids having an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
Is that just fun? Or are we like tapping into something ancient without even realizing it?
I think you could definitely see it that way. These simple, modern activities can be viewed as echoes, maybe faint continuations of celebrations reaching back thousands of years.
Connecting us unconsciously almost to that very long history.
Exactly. It's all part of that enduring fascination with spring, with renewal.
So the flowers blooming, the longer days, the sunrise services, it all ties back to this fundamental rhythm.
The rhythm of death and rebirth, darkness and light, winter and spring. These traditions, deep down, honor that cycle. They honor figures, goddesses, and gods who journeyed into darkness and returned.
So the hidden goddess, Ishtar or Easter, she's not really forgotten.
Maybe not completely. Her essence, that archetype, arguably lives on in the symbolism, in the very feeling of spring's triumph over winter.
It's like Ishtar, Easter, Mithras, Easter. They're all using different words, different stories to talk about the same fundamental thing.
That persistent, almost miraculous return of life when it seems like all is lost. Different cultural costumes for the same deep mysteries.
Connecting it all together, these seemingly separate threads.
Exactly, seeing the patterns, the archetypes repeating across time.
So wrapping this deep dive up, next time Easter rolls around and you see the eggs, the bunnies, think about the sheer age of these ideas.
Yeah, the layers of history and belief woven into them. It adds a whole new dimension, doesn't it?
It really does. And maybe it makes you wonder, what other familiar traditions, things we take for granted, might also have these incredibly deep hidden roots just waiting to be uncovered?
It's a good question to leave people with. What else is hiding in plain sight?
If you like this content, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and clicking on the bell icon to get notified for more deep dives from the Outcast the Pattern podcast.